show today, a 3 o'clock show, and we have a very special guest, former SaberCat alum Ryan Garza and former Vela head coach and now Edinburg Vela head coach Lalo Rios. Coach, how's it going? And Ryan, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us on here.
Yeah, first and foremost, what we're going to get to is we're going to, like we did for the first show when we had Coach Molina on and Angel Gonzalez, we talked about the boys basketball challenge that Rio Sports Live has been doing, the voting, bracket fans are voting in for Twitter and Facebook. So now we've reached the finals. We have the 15-16 SaberCat team against the 13-14 Harlingen South team. And then we're also going to get into a little bit about y'all's 15-16 year. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first and foremost, just want to check in, see how you guys are doing. How you guys been the last couple of months. So just how's it going?
Well, it's been quite an adjustment, obviously, to say the least. I mean, obviously with this whole pandemic going on, so lives have kind of been, thwarted a little bit. But, you got to just roll the punches, basically try to stay safe as much as possible. Try to keep yourself active. I got 2 little boys, so trying to keep them active, trying to get them out of the house, probably just in the backyard so they can run around and just be kids. Trying not to keep them in the house all day. But, also trying to continue to talk to the kids that I have at Ed Chelsea right now, and just trying to keep myself busy, so not to think about this too much.
Yeah, I know, Ryan. I know you're trying to stay in shape and be ready for a season for you that's already been pushed back. That would be your senior year, I believe, at St. Edward's, correct? So how you been preparing for that? Just trying to stay in shape and keep the mind sharp.
Yeah, that's preparing for what hopefully can be a last good season that I could still play ball one more year.
Awesome, guys. Well, that's great. Just quickly, I just want to get y'all's thoughts. I know, like we said, stuff's pushed back, and the Valley's obviously dealing with their own issues, county mandates and all that stuff. It's very unique, and then obviously a season for you, Ryan. You never had to deal with like your first game being at the turn of the new year. Now it's being pushed back a little bit. Very unique situations. How have you guys attacked that head on? It's different. It's uncharted waters, definitely. So how do you prepare for something like that?
No, I think you prepare as usual. A lot of communication between the coach and our team. A lot of Zoom meetings with our front office and the athletics department. Just trying to make sure that we're doing the right things to make sure that we can go on schedule, go through all the phases that they want us to go through, just to get back to normal.
What about you, Coach?
Yeah, definitely, man. Just trying to keep in touch with the kids as much as possible. Same thing with my coaches, but at the end of the day, most importantly, we want them to stay safe, so if it means, we try to tell the kids to do something. We just try to tell them to make sure that they're staying safe. Obviously we don't want them congregating around a lot of people. Sometimes these kids will go to the park, because right now we can't open up any facilities. So they always talk about going to the park, and we're always telling them like, hey, make sure you stay safe. Make sure you don't do anything crazy. Try to, stay away from people as much as possible. Make sure you have your masks on. But yeah, obviously this is just a different time, a different situation. And, but we're going to continue to prepare as if everything's normal. Obviously it isn't, but, we just kind of continue to work the day and try to see if we can continue to get better. For
sure. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are doing well. But let's chit chat a little bit better light here. What we're here to talk about, the boys bracket challenge. When this was kind of went out, we some mixed reviews. Some fans really loved it. Some fans, were wondering where this team was at and all that. But just from you guys, I know some people probably tagged you guys and stuff. Some people probably told you about it word of mouth. How did you hear about it? And just what was your first impressions on the field of the teams that were in it?
You go ahead, Coach.
Well, yeah, I think I think it was one of the sports writers who tagged me, or it was one of my basketball players from Vela, or one of my coaches. Somebody tagged me on it. I don't really get on social media too much, and so when I did, I saw that. And I briefly looked at the bracket. Very interesting. A lot of great teams on there. You can't negate that. Obviously they were there for a reason. And unfortunately, I'm sure there were some teams that got left out that probably, were deserving of it. But it is difficult. Everybody in their own right had a great season that particular year. We were very fortunate to have a great year that year as well. So, we were just happy to be in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
How about you,
likewise. I
Ryan?
also got tagged on Twitter, saw the bracket, and man, I just the company to be in that bracket, man. A lot of those teams are really great, made a lot of great runs, had a lot of fan support. I think it was it's a real great thing to reminisce, just some positive light in kind of a negative situation, and just bring back the good memories that we had in the past couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. And putting this out, I know a lot of people thought we were kind of fantasy playing, fantasy booking, kind of seeing who would win, kind of thing. But ultimately, it comes down to the fan support. Who's going to come out in droves and vote? These matchups and where the matches ended up are by no means like people saying like, oh, this team would win versus that team, because it's it's all about the fan voting. But seeing the amount of fans that came out and voted and getting like your respective team all the way to the finals kind of just goes to show about the fan base and the familiarity people have with that year alone. So just what does that mean to you guys just to see the fans come out and vote in droves the way they did?
Well, yeah, that's one thing I do recall from that particular year that we had that great run. We did have a tremendous amount of fan support, not only from our student body and our community, but also from the Rio Grande Valley. I mean, there was a lot of, when we made that run, we constant phone calls, constant text messages about, showing their support, and their well wishes for us as we made our journey. So you appreciate that, you respect that. And it just goes to show, and it's like what we told the kids during the time, if you put in the hard work and effort, people will recognize it.
Sure. Yeah, and the other, since you guys are here in the championship round here, the other team coming out is another 6A school that people widely regard as one of the best teams during this time that we've done it, from the 2009 to 2020, the 2013-14 Arlington South Hawks, a team that a younger version of y'all's team ran into during their playoff run to the regional semifinals. So I mean, do you guys remember anything about that team? I know, Ryan, you were probably a little younger, probably about a sophomore around that year, maybe.
That was my freshman year.
All right. Yeah. So one thing that they remember playing you guys, and I believe it was the second round that year, and they had a lot of good things to say. They knew you guys were going to be where you all ended up being a couple of years down the line. They remember that game with you guys, and it was definitely a hard fought game. What do you remember about that South team that a younger version of you guys played, Brian, and Coach Rios also, the Coach Molina coach team that was that made their own little run deep into the playoffs?
I think the thing I remember most is the seniority and the leadership that they had on that team. I think they had about four seniors in the starting lineup, and I think that really kind of set the standard of where we wanted to be in a couple of years, because we're still a young squad. We're kind of a new school still, and we our core was a lot of the younger guys, not too many seniors, but that was my first taste of high school basketball, where we had a packed house and a tough team to go against, and the preparation. It's just a lot of fun memories, especially that game. Coming up short, we lost by 2 that game, so that was my first taste of coming up short and having some motivation for the off season and the years to come.
Yeah, I remember that team. Coach Molina had a great team. They were very athletic, very tall, had great court awareness. I mean, he had some scorers. He had some guys and they had good chemistry. You couldn't take that away. They knew how to play with one another. They fed off of each other, and we were pretty tough. And I remember it was back and forth. We took a lead in the third quarter, kind of kept it all the way to the fourth, and in the fourth quarter, like the last 3 minutes, I mean, you could tell that his seniors really stepped up, and those senior leaders really, put the team on their shoulders, and that kind of was a big factor. He had some really good, smart basketball players, and I told these guys after that loss, I said, remember, like, this is, it's not that you lost to some guys that were very good because they were older, they were smarter, they knew how to play the game, but you'll get there at some point. It's a process. I think it was our second year in existence, and so we knew it was going to take time. We knew it was an overnight, that we were going to have instant success. It was a process that we had to go through, and that was part of it. It was learning how to lose in a big game, so that we could get that experience for the future.
Yeah, for sure. And then I just remember that year as well. I know I coming back to my job in the Valley, everybody talked about the Vela program. Not only was it basketball, but like all sports, everybody knew that there was a lot of players and there was a lot of potential for a big time program. But in the coming years, and that came to fruition with you guys. Fast forward a couple of years here, and you guys were it. You guys are widely remembered as when people have conversations. Is there what team do you remember as far as Valley basketball that's who do you put up there with the best? And I think it's hard to argue that, that team that year would be one of them because, if not the best, because you guys not only made it to state, but you did it in this Class 6A. You did it. We had another state team. Santa Rosa's been there 3 times in the smaller ranks, but you guys are there also, and people remember that team. And in Ryan, people also regard you as one of probably the top players in the Valley, in the history. So tell me, let's start from the beginning. Coming into that season, what was it about the team that you guys thought, special? You guys might have it to make it really far. It's something you guys have never done before. I mean, just what was the morale like coming into the year?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I think what was special about that year is we knew that I guess you could say that we were waiting to have a good year and just explode, because I remember my freshman year we lost in the second round. My sophomore year we lost in the Sweet 16, and we knew that something good was going to happen that year. We had a bunch of guys coming back, a lot of solid starters, Hector, Alec, just to name a few. But that year I think what also was great about that year is that we had guys 1 through 10, 1 through 11 that we could count on night in and night out, and everyone could contribute it to the team, and everyone bought in. I think that was the bigger thing. Everyone bought into the run and gun style that we wanted to play, and just make sure that we gave it our all, because especially for the senior leaders that had been there from year one, they were on us at all times just to make sure that we're giving it our all.
Yeah, and I remember, a lot of people don't realize or don't know this, but that Ryan's sophomore year, we made it to the tournament. That was Hector's junior year, and at the regional tournament, we were playing against San Antonio, Sam Houston, and we had the lead at the half. We had the lead, and then again, their senior leadership came into play in second half, and our guys' first time ever been there. We folded, and so I remember in that locker room after the game, we told the guys, I said, hey, you know what? We set the bar by getting to the regional tournament, but today we make a new promise that we're going to make it back here and we're going to win this thing. But I told them, you have to believe. It all started with believing. And if we were going to believe, they had to believe, and vice versa. And so that day we left the regional tournament, that was the mission, to get back there and win. And so every day after that, for the next year, all we talked about was getting to state. And every time we broke a huddle, it was state. Every time we talked, it was about state. It wasn't about regionals anymore. We felt like we had shortchanged them by just talking about regionals. So when we got there, we were content. And so we had to change that mentality and say, you know what, we're not happy with being at regionals anymore. We want to get to the next level. So fast forward, that next year, you could see it in their eyes. Every day we came to practice, every day we had a game. Every time we got into the playoffs and we had another opponent, they were not content, because they had a bigger goal in mind, and I was going to the state tournament. And so when we got to the regional tournament, a lot of people, don't believe this, but we had a feeling we were going to win it. As coaches and as players, we talked to them, and that was our mentality, that we were not going to come back again and get a lead and then lose it because of lack of experience. And luckily that year, Ryan had already been there. Hector had already been there. Alec, we had a lot of guys back that year. I mean, the experience that we had was just phenomenal. So we're playing against Alamo Heights, who was a traditional powerhouse, who had just gone to the state tournament 2 years before that. And, when we got to that game, we were down almost the whole game.
It's overtime, right?
But going into the fourth quarter, we were still down. And I told the kids, this is not over. I don't care what the score is. We're going to win this game. And, but we had to have those leaders step up. And sure enough, we took them into overtime. And then our leadership stepped up, and we were able to win that game. And I think that was a turning point for us to say, hey, you know what? We believe when we can have a losing season, have a losing in a game, lose and still come back to find a way to win. That was just phenomenal. And so I think that helped us win the next game against Laredo Nixon to take us into the state tournament.
Yeah, and Ryan, you remember obviously vividly that overtime game. Just so, what was that mentality like? What do you recall? You hear Coach Rios, pumping you up. He's refusing to go down. Just you as a kid on the court trying to make it a state. Trying to win this game. Just what was that like for you hearing this?
I guess the rush of emotions. I would being down the whole game and realizing that this could very well be it if you don't put it all on the court right now. And vividly, I remember the free throws by Mike Garcia, our another senior leader. We're down 2 with 2 seconds to go, maybe with. And he went to the free throw line and sunk both free throws to send us to overtime. And I think that just goes to show how much an impact that those senior leadership guys had.
Yeah. And just throughout the whole season, I remember there was polls and stuff. People had you guys widely on top of all the polls. You're the top team in the Valley, as there are polls every year. But just to be the top, I remember that season there was a lot of other good teams around. Especially even like in 6A, you have the Los Fresnos. Of course, Harlingen South is going to be Harlingen South. A lot of those years, Westaco was really good, and I think PSJ North was up and coming that year. Also, there's just a lot of good teams that you guys saw. Do you guys remember just the state of Valley basketball during that year and what it meant for you guys to be, widely known as the top team of that season?
Yeah, there were a lot of great teams. Year in, year out, the Valley's always going to produce at least 5, great teams from 1A all the way to 5A or 6A. And so that year was no different. We had our challenges and our battles and with a lot of the Valley opponents here. And, we were just very fortunate that we had a lot of experience that year. We had a lot of guys back from the year before that went to the regional tournament. We knew all those guys were seniors. A lot of those guys had been on varsity since they were freshmen when we first opened up the school. So, we knew that was going to be a good year for us. We had been molding those kids for 3 years. And so, I think the one team that we had a hard time with was Nicky Rowe. Nicky Rowe always seemed to pose a big challenge for us. It was a big rivalry for us. The kids knew each other. They played against a lot in summer ball and things of that nature. So there was a lot of rivalry there. And that was a good team that we always had a hard time. Same thing with Los Fresnos, same thing with Westlaco, but yeah, I definitely remember playing those guys that season.
About you, Ryan, what do you remember about? You're obviously a guy. There's a kid who's playing. There's obviously a lot of other kids around the Valley that think maybe, hey, like I'm as good as him or whatever. You played with guys. There's mutual respect. There's rivalries. Being a player that year around so many other good players in the area. What was that like for you?
Oh man, I think the one stretch of games that I remember is the La Feria tournament, the Vale tournament. Back-to-back nights, we would play against strong teams. I think I can remember Los Fresnos, Westlaco, like Coach Rio said. I know Pioneer was up and coming that year too, and there were several good teams in that tournament. And just playing going up against guys that I played with in AAU basketball or playing against in local tournaments, and in the end, it was going against your friend, and you're fighting to see who can get the best of each other. And it's being in such a tight-knit community. I think it just brings out the best competition out of all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember at the La Feria tournament. It was either that year or the next year. I know it was you guys in Westlaco for the title. I can't remember which year. It might have been that year. It might have been the next year.
Yeah, it was that year. That 15-16 year was the year we played Westlaco in the championship, and then the following year we played Los Fresnos in the championship.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, wow, yeah, back-to-back years, great game. That's always a really good tournament. I don't think a lot of people in the Valley realize, there's always a lot of good teams at that tournament, and I hold it in high regard as far as tournaments throughout the year in the Valley. So, very special tournament. A lot of good memories there for you guys. And just overall, this one season, talk to us about the X's and O's, the players, what each guy brought to the team, or what made your team special. I know Harlingen and South, when they were on here, they emphasized a lot of defense and the ability to shoot the three ball. I know you guys were a very volatile team that was able to score in bunches. Put you up against anybody would probably put you up against any team in the region, and even the state when it came to scoring and ability to score. So I mean, just chat us up about the team. What made you guys click on the court?
I think the mindset we had was, high school basketball? I'm sorry, it's 32 minutes of havoc. I mean, pressing, platoon style, 5 in, 5 out. Everyone just going all out on defense. I think the two main takeaways were hustle and shoot threes. I think that was really the game plan for each game, and we had a lot of fast guys and guys who weren't afraid to get down and dirty on the floor, box out for rebounds, and it was a real fun team to be around.
Yeah, definitely. I think the mentality for us was we were just going to wear you out. We came with 10 guys, 5 in, 5 out. We pressed all game long. I had 2 different styles. My first group was more structure, but it's intense. But we could run a lot of plays with my first group, and we had a lot of talented scorers on that group. So we had a lot of quick hitters. We had a lot of plays for either a shooter or for Ryan attacking with his left hand, or for Alec attacking the basket, Hector for a 3. And then our second group was no structure at all. They were we called them our kamikaze group, because they would just run all over the court. They were it looked ugly, but it was effective, because in essence, they might not have scored a lot of points, or they might have turned the ball over several times because they were kind of all over the place. But what they were doing for us was they were wearing down the other team. And so then when Ryan's group came back in, and the discipline and the structure that they brought, it just, that's where these guys would make their 6-8-0 run. And now, we would open the game up, we're up 10, 12, 14, and then I'd come back in. And so we just kept platooning, teams, and we just kept wearing them out, getting them in foul trouble, because we would press so much and run so much. And so you could see it by the third, fourth quarter, the teams were, hands on their knees, and these guys were hardly ever tired, because that's how we practiced. That's how we played every single day. So they were so used to it.
Chat me up about matchup problems. It seems like whenever Valley teams go into the playoffs, they know that more times than not, they're probably going to be undersized. Where they make up for it either with really, really annoying defense, whether it be a strong press, or and then speed, and or shooting the 3 ball. But it seems like you guys had your own thing, the platoon style thing, kind of tiring them out. How was that matchup wise when you got to the playoffs, and maybe against teams who had more size or whatever?
Yeah, that was tough. We got, when it was a second round, and we were playing against Coloso Midway, was it, or Flower Bluff?
Flower Bluff.
We were playing Flower Bluff, and they had a big kid, 6'7" kid, who was going big time football quarterback. He was a monster, and so he was very difficult. We couldn't really press him because they would just throw the ball to him, and he would look over everybody, and then he'd make the right pass. And so we had a hard time for about 3/4 of the game in running that 5 in, 5 out. And but there was a moment there where they relaxed. We pressed them, and we changed it. We changed the flow of the game, and we were down I think it was 12 or 13 with about 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. We made some subs. We put in some fast guys. We went a little small, and next thing we're going into the fourth quarter up by 1. And so it was just amazing to see how sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But there was always a point in the game where we either made a sub, we made a change in the defense, or Ryan would get hot, or Hector would get hot, or Alec would score a couple of points here and there, or Big Lou would get some rebound putbacks, and it always seemed to change the flow of the game in our favor. And so that was a big saving grace for us when we got to play up north.
How about you, Ryan, as far as matchups? So what do you remember, how you guys usually matched up against the bigger teams?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I remember the 6'7" big from Flower Bluff. That was a handful. And also Alamo Heights, a couple big guys. They had their star shooting guard, Jonathan Dunn. He's 2,000 point scorer at his college basketball, really good player, all conference player, and then against Lancaster, I mean, they had I don't remember how tall Morrison was. He was like 6'10", 6'11". That team had a couple bigs at 6'7" guards, which was something some of the guys had never seen before, and I don't think I'd ever seen one up until that point. But I think just understanding the flow of the game and understanding the matchups, changing the defenses, like Coach said, changing the offense just to adjust to how we can catch them, I guess, sleeping a little bit, how to make them relax, make them uncomfortable. And I think practicing a lot of the different formations on defense and stuff like that really helped us out a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's always nice going back to talk and reminisce about, everything. But like I said, we look at this Vela team and it's going to go down as until another team does what you guys were able to do. And I don't think any team has done that, make it through the playoffs, get to the Final Four as a Class 6A team. But, not only for you guys, like personally, but, maybe for Valley basketball or like you guys, whether it be your career, Ryan, going into college, or you coach your coaching career down the line, what impact did this 15-16 Vela team have on you guys and maybe the state of Valley basketball as a whole?
For me, again, it just made me realize and believe that anything is possible. When you have some kids that put their mind to it, that they decide they want to believe in one common goal, anything is possible. And so, I've tried to take that with me everywhere. Well, now that I'm at Ed Calchasa, I've tried to take that too. That mentality is that anything is possible. Don't matter how big you are, how small you are. If you're not fast, if you want something bad enough, it can happen. And that's kind of what these young men did when we were there at Vela. They bought in to the common goal, and they decided to do whatever it took to get to that. And, something that I'll never forget. I'll always appreciate and respect them for believing in that mentality. And so, with that, like I said, it's just something that, I don't know if it'll ever be duplicated again. It was very difficult to do. We got lucky a lot. I want to say it wasn't all because we were that good. We got some breaks along the way. And so it's very difficult to do, but like you said, anything is possible.
What about for you, Ryan? What is that year do for you as far as the effect it had on you?
I think it might sound cliche, but I mean the teammates that we went through, knowing that we had each other's backs, and I think from that season on, we know that we'll always have each other's backs. We may not keep in touch as much as we'd like to with all the guys, but knowing that if I saw one of them at the store or at a restaurant, that we would say hi to each other like we just where we left off last. I mean, that's a great group of guys right there, and I don't think I would have wanted to go through that season with anyone else, because I knew that they were going to give their all night in, night out.
Awesome. And there you have it, folks. A couple of cornerstone pieces from the 15-16 Edinburg Vela Sabercat team. They went all the way to the state semifinals, and they are one of two teams in the finals of our boys basketball bracket challenge 2020. They will be in the poll against the 13-14 Hanja Southhawks. So please make sure to go out there and vote. The voting is going to be done on Twitter and Facebook, but just keep it here, guys. We have one more show, Sideline Sit Down. Kevin Naro will have the Bennett brothers from Harlingen South on at 5 o'clock, and make sure to keep it here to Rio Sports Live, and make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch live streams on YouTube, the Roku Network, and Apple TV. Just keep it here for content. That's Rio Sports Live. And before I sign off, I just want to say once again, thank you to Ryan Garza, and good luck to everything that you're doing over there at St. Edward's. And Coach Lalo Rios, thank you for joining us, giving us your time, and good luck over there in Ed Couch, Coach. And thanks for being with us today, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Hey, have a good day.
You too.